This video is now in session. Over the weekend, Kamala Harris went on TV, or local TVs, in West Virginia and Arizona. And the reason why she went on TV in both of those states was to advocate for the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill that we all know about. Biden proposed it along with his staff, and that was one reason why Kamala Harris went on the airwaves. The other was to pressure Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who are both conservative Democrats. Otherwise, Kamala Harris would not be visiting or would not be going to West Virginia TV in order to advocate for something like a $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. So, this is just not the way to negotiate, in my opinion. In fact, this is probably what you should not be doing. Like, one of the last things you should be doing is pressuring a politician on TV. Because all it does is it just makes that relationship more sour. It makes Joe Manchin's relationship with the White House much more sour and much less of a... and it brings less collegiality into the Democratic Senate. How Joe Manchin might not even seem like he fits with the Democratic Party anymore because of those kinds of things that Kamala Harris or any other Democrat does to him. So this is the last thing that Democrats should be doing. What instead they should be doing is doing what Joe Biden did today. I'm recording on a Monday, February 1st, 2021, and just as I am recording this video, Joe Biden is currently in discussions with 10 GOP senators led by Susan Collins of Maine to have a compromise on the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill that Biden proposed. Those are the kinds of meetings that should be done, not pressuring other senators on public TV. So, yeah, obviously that will happen in the future, but that's the best way for Democrats to move forward. It's not the fastest way, it's far from it, but it's the best way if Democrats want to win politically. They have to negotiate with the Republican Party, especially because the filibuster is now gone. Or not actually, no, just the exact opposite of that. Because the filibuster is not going away, which means that they will need 10 Republican senators to join the Democrats in order to get something passed. So those kinds of discussions need to take place. And if Biden is willing to give those, then it will be politically advantageous for him to do that. What will also be politically advantageous for him to do is to present more extreme versions of what he advocates for, more liberal stuff than what he currently has in his agenda list. And I think that's mainly what he's doing, because a lot of the policies that he's asking for in Congress is much more, not radical, I should say, but much more extreme than what he initially proposed during his election bid. And that's purposeful, and that's what he should be doing, because there's a kind of like psychology explanation behind this, where if you present something that's very extreme, incredibly extreme, or actually, you know what, let's use Trump's tweets for example. This is a perfect example. So if you present if you present very incredibly ridiculous tweets, then people will think that that's crazy, but at least they acknowledge that that's the level of ridiculousness that a tweet can get. And then Trump will then present another ridiculous tweet, but not as ridiculous, and a little more I guess better in terms of a tweet. So as a result, people see that tweet and they compare it to the most extreme tweet, and they think of the less ridiculous tweet as as a normal tweet, a tweet that should be normal of a president. And that's essentially the psychology behind presenting an extreme version of something. And we can apply this to Biden's COVID spending bill. He's presenting a $1.9 trillion plan. In reality, I don't think he's gonna actually be. In reality, I don't think he thinks that he can get a $1.9 trillion bill passed. He might want something more of like a $1.1 trillion bill passed. So that's what he's doing. He's advocating, he's compromising with the Republicans, and then if he says, okay, fine, I'll do a $1.1 trillion bill instead of a $1.9 trillion bill, but no lower, then the 10 Republicans that are negotiating with Biden may actually side with that, in comparison to something where Joe Biden presents a $1.1 trillion COVID relief bill, and Republicans still counter that, and then they go into negotiations, and ultimately Biden comes out with like a $500 billion bill instead. So that's what presenting an extreme does. So yeah, that's all I wanted to really say in terms of what's going on in Washington currently, with all the political infighting that's going on right now, with Trump's legal team having to be reconstructed, with very conservative Republicans being incredibly furious at Democrats trying to figure out how to get stuff passed, and as of now, there has been one thing there has been one good thing for Congress, which was that 10 Republican senators negotiated or started negotiations with Joe Biden, and those negotiations are going well, because that shows a time of several decades ago where I remember several decades ago, Ronald Reagan, in around like the 1983, 1984, he had to negotiate with Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House, also a Democrat, in order to get something passed. And he actively sought out to negotiate with Tip O'Neill, and O'Neill agreed with Reagan's compromises and got a lot of stuff done together, even though they were even though they were both different parties. Where how George H.W. Bush was able to have bipartisan legislation passed, and as well as negotiations occur with bills like the Disabilities Act, as well as tax increases, even though many Republicans did not sign on to that tax increase bill that George H.W. Bush presented in 1992, I believe. It still was it was still a time where Republicans and Democrats actively worked with each other, even if it might have not been good politically for their own party, but they did it anyway because it was good for their country, and that's what needs to be done in modern day America. In order to heal, it starts with the politicians. It starts with the politicians working together, and that's unfortunately getting harder and harder. So I guess sooner we rectify this kind of situation, then the easier it will be long term to get America back onto a path where we don't think about Capitol stormings or insurrections or a potential civil war. So that's all I had to say for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow I will be doing a video on Myanmar and what the United States should be doing about Myanmar, along with other countries in Southeast Asia, including Vietnam and the Philippines. But until then, this video is adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.